Aloha and good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. My name is Jürgen Steinmetz, joining you from the Breaking News Show in Honolulu in cooperation with eTopo News. And with me, as most of the time, is Dr. Peter Tarlow. He's joining us from College Station in Texas. And we're going to have a very interesting show today. We're going to go from here to Iran, and then from Iran, we're going to go to India. So please stay tuned. But Peter, I'm glad to have you back home. You've been traveling a little bit.
Yeah,
So, how do you like the weather in College Station? It must be different than from Washington, D.C.
it was for a good part of the week in Washington. It was in the 40s and low 50s. And last night, when we got off the plane around 7 o'clock in the evening, Texas time, it was a cool 87 degrees. And of course, today it's a nice cool 93 or 94 degrees. So it takes a long time for Texas to cool down. Um, we're as hot as a tamale. So so if you like heat, this is definitely the place to be. There's a famous saying that when Sherman came through Texas, they offered him Texas or hell and of course there was no air conditioning then, and he said, "Give me hell." So, it would have been very tough to be in high humidity and high heat, and no air conditioning.
Yeah, no, definitely. We are so spoiled these days, and hopefully we can keep the air conditioning on now with oil prices raising, probably also in this
Yeah,
country
yes,
again after what happened yesterday in Saudi Arabia.
yeah.
We don't know, maybe we have to find a different way to keep warm. Maybe, let's
We
see.
need, well, that's actually a great segue into what we want to talk about, which is peace. And tourism is peace because what a way to keep warm is we all need to learn to snuggle together. And so we should call tourism one of the key tools of tourism is teaching people to snuggle. And so that's a way to really, we don't have time to separate from each other. We need to get closer to each other. And I think, that's a really important issue, the whole issue of tourism and peace, and using tourism as an instrument to teach people about other cultures, about other ways of seeing the world, and hopefully making the world a little bit better. And I know that in Bali, they're going to be having a G20, which is, we can talk about that a lot. The G20 is seen as a political summit, but you've been wise enough to say that it's really also a tourism summit. Maybe you want to tell us why you think it's that.
Yeah, no, no, absolutely. I mean, we talked to we're planning actually an event, and we will be announcing this shortly for World Tourism Network in Bali. So we've been talking to our friends from the Bali Tourism Board almost on a daily basis, and they're fully occupied for the G20 conference because if you consider many heads of states from all over the world, maybe even from Russia and Ukraine are coming together in on this island, it's a logistical nightmare. Every hotel is sold out. Certain countries don't want to be in the same hotels with other countries, so I don't think Putin wants to have a room next to Zelenskyy, even though that would be probably quite good, so they can become
It would
buddies.
even be better if they shared a room.
Yeah, if they share a room, it would even be better. So they can snuggle a little bit, but that's not going to happen. But anyways, what we're saying is really, it is a tourism event. Every hotel is sold out. Every resource in tourism is being used to prepare for this event, and I bet it's probably the largest tourism event ever in Bali, if not in Indonesia. And it's a political tourism. There's medical tourism, there
Right.
is leisure tourism, there's business tourism, and this is a political, economic tourism event.
Sure.
So we want to point this out, and when it's a tourism event, any tourism event is related to peace. Our friend Dr. Taleb Rifai and former Secretary General of the UNWTO, together with Louis Damour, the head and founder of the International Institute for Peace Through Tourism, declared that tourism is a peace industry, and even Louis went a step further, saying that peace is the custodian for tourism. I mean, tourism is the custodian for peace, the other way around. And
Well,
this
it's also true the other, both ways are correct.
both ways actually work, and this is an important message I think we would love to give on the way to our friends in Bali and to anyone who would attend the G20. since this is a tourism event, I think the tourism industry should stand up and saying, look, you're in our territory. This is a tourism event and this is a peace event. So make it an event that is, um, useful to the world. And God knows in this times, we definitely need peace and we need harmony. And what better place on earth than Bali? Bali is the island of the gods,
Yes.
so
It's so beautiful.
it's beautiful
Yeah.
and it's all about peace and spiritual awakening
Tranquility.
and so it is a good place. So that's
Right.
kind
And
of
as we
yeah,
talk a lot about safety and security, and of course, what we're really talking about is peace there on some level, because without if people don't feel safe, if people don't feel secure, they don't come. And that's true. So basically, a peaceful country is one that has the basis for tourism. And of course, there's issues of lack of peace around the world, in many parts of the world. And so I think one of the important things that we should be able to do is use this in the World Tourism Network as really a network to bring people together, to get people to understand. And if I'm not mistaken, the World Tourism Network is now the largest network of nations or people in nations. I think we have representatives from 128 nations, if I'm not mistaken. You know the numbers better than I do, but not
128.
120. How many?
128, you're correct.
Yeah, I'm correct. So if we could get 128 nations to commit to peace, and of course our goal is to help small businesses and medium-sized businesses grow. They can't grow in a bellicose situation. They need a peaceful situation, and so they need peace, but they also help to bring peace. And whenever you walk into a store and somebody gives you a smile or goes out of their way just to be a little kinder or a little nicer, you know what? That brings the world one step closer to a sense of peace. So I think the World Tourism Network is a major one of our major goals should be to create a peaceful, non-bellicose world.
Yeah, and especially our network at World Tourism Network is catering to the medium and small size businesses.
Right.
It contributes almost 85% of all businesses in tourism, and so are very important. If you look at them combined, they're stronger. If you look at them one by one, they're really insignificant sometimes because we have the big guys being in the media every day and being very, very prominent. So we're looking out for the not so prominent and not so big companies. But altogether, I think if we take this all together, we're the strongest and the biggest, so if we really take it
Well,
together. Yeah.
one of the things we should be promoting is peace between various tourism industries and learning to work together rather than having sometimes unfair competition. And so, if we could create a peaceful situation between the small and medium sized businesses and large businesses, and between various tourism rivals, instead make them colleagues, then that would be a major step towards peace. And I think if the industry likes to talk about peace, we need to set the example of peace.
Yeah, and this is kind of for our upcoming event, and I don't want to jump the gun here. We will make an announcement in the next few weeks on this, but really our focus is not to have lectures. Of course, we invite the minister to be a speaker, and since he is the host, but it's not about the ministers that much. It's not about the CEOs from Marriott that much. What we want is roundtables and getting people to be in charge and take ownership of their small business in a larger network and be able to talk to each other. So we're going to be concentrating on roundtable discussions and not necessarily lectures with some VIPs in the first row and on the stage. So ideally, we would love the minister to sit in the middle of the room like everyone else. Let's take everyone on the same level and get people together. That's kind of really what we're envisioning.
Well, isn't that really the basis of peace? The Hebrew word for peace is shalom, that means to make a circle complete. And you have peace when everyone's included. You cannot have a circle that's three-quarters of a circle or 99% circle. It's got to be 100%. And a circle is perfect. It has to be the same distance from from the center of that circle to any other point on the circle. And what we're creating is a circle of humanity, a chance for people to be part of that circle where everyone's included and there are no gaps. And if we can create a world in which there's openness and which everyone is included and where the rough spots are smoothed out, then we have a perfect circle, and that's really peace.
And Peter, you're so right, and I think this is a good conclusion of our first part there. We have so many things going on in the travel and tourism industry, and unfortunately, many are not that
Yes.
peaceful.
Well, some of the stuff we're going to be discussing, I think is really important because you and I are talking about peace, but you're going to show now some clips that are places that are not so peaceful. And one of the things that we hope that the World Tourism Network will be able to do is it doesn't matter in what part of the world you're in. Is certainly the eastern part of the Middle East and the subcontinent have had lots of issues and lots of problems, not only between countries, but also just between peoples. And if we can, help to unite people a little bit, and you're going to give some examples of why it's so important to unite people, then, then this conference in this tourism mode, which we're trying to expound upon, will really do the world a lot of good.
Yeah, and then what we're doing now, I'm sorry, what we're doing now is, if you stay tuned, let me explain this a little bit and what is upcoming. We're going to just share some sound bites from a lady we know who she is. She is actually in the travel and tourism business, and she is known internationally, and she's from Iran, and she's sitting literally by her window in Teheran, and she's giving us some sound clips from people protesting what has been going on now in Iran for many weeks, for 3 weeks, I believe. And we also hear, if you listen to it carefully, not even that carefully, you hear gunshots.
Yes.
And these are people who are the police is shutting up and killing for saying what they want to say. And as you know, Iran is cutting off communication to the West. So this is it was a challenge to get this information to our contact. And we, of course, we're not going to mention her name and who she is, but she's a very brave woman, and people are brave, and people respect freedom, and people know how important a free society is, and that shows it again. And she's a tourism lady. She has worked in.
And again, without freedom, you don't have much tourism. We need the freedom to be able to go from one place to another and be able to not fear for our lives. And yesterday, I took an Uber with a man who was an Afghan translator. And when the U.S. pulled out, and how his family was the last people to get on a military plane out of Afghanistan, and you could see the shrapnel in his arms and the wounds that had taken place. And again, the world, we forget that it's only been a year, not even a year, that the U.S. withdrew from Afghanistan, leaving hundreds of people, thousands of people abandoned in Afghanistan, including people who work with us. And so peace also comes with responsibility and comes with the fact that if you can't travel, then without peace, you cannot travel.
Yeah, we're working on a story you can read in eTurbo News in the next few days, probably, about a gentleman we interviewed who was in charge of Afghanistan tourism when it was still before the latest takeover. He's currently in exile in Pakistan, and he has been talking to us how much he loves Afghanistan, about the huge potential the tourism
Yes.
industry had, and how this is now in wishful thinking, more or less. And he's making some suggestion how to relaunch this in Afghanistan under the current leadership, what I really don't think will happen. But it's
I think
interesting interview.
I think the story that I was invited to go to Afghanistan about 8-9 years ago, and the tourism minister was going to work with me to create a tourism security plan for Afghanistan. And just before I left for Afghanistan, he got blown up. And I said, well, we're not quite ready yet for tourism security.
No, and I'm glad
Um,
you didn't go. We don't want you to blow up.
yeah.
So,
No, although I didn't go, I stayed in the United States. But it was really, I mean, it really was such a poignant statement that the Minister of Tourism got blown up as he was trying to create a peaceful situation in Afghanistan. So we have lots of work to do. And that's really the bottom line. We have a
yeah.
lot of work to do if we're going to try to make the world even one iota better than where it is today.
Yeah, thank you, Peter, and please, everyone else, stay tuned. You're going to hear
Yes.
some sound bites we um, told you about from Iran. We're going to probably leave them without comments. You can come to your own conclusion. And after this, we're going to Delhi, and we're talking to Vivek from Zapier. Zapier is a system we're also using here at eTurbo News and many others. And you probably know when you go to a website like eTurbo News, you get asked if you wanted to get updates. And these are not email updates. These are just updates that pop up on your browser. They're actually connected to the browser. And we have the expert who can explain to us how this works, what data is actually shared, and how this computer knows that eTurbo News or whoever you subscribe to is just posted something, and how this pops up on your computer, and also how you can stop it once you subscribe. So that's going
Very
to be
important.
after this, and so hopefully you enjoy the rest of our show. And
All
for
right.
Peter, I
Well,
hope you enjoy your weekend. And
and as we're talking about peace, and it's almost Friday afternoon here in Texas, I'm going to wish you Shabbat Shalom. I hope you have a weekend of peace.
yes, and if you wanted to listen to any of our segments again, this will be repeated within the next 24 hours on the same screen here at eTurbo News, or just click on play and you will get a repeat session. Or, of course, you can always go to our YouTube channel and find any channel, or you better off, you can go to our breakingnewsshow.com, our new website, where you find all the breaking news shows we've done with Peter over the last few weeks.
All right. Well, have a peaceful Sabbath. Bye
Yeah,
bye.
and please stay tuned.
Bye
Listen
bye.
to Iran.
Hi, Bukachats. As you hear from my window, cars, voices, people are shouting, and cars, voices like I don't know what the voice of cars is, a voice of cars called, but people all are trying to let everyone know about their voice by any means. That everyone is angry with the situation. So I am sitting by window. I'm looking at outside, and I see that how everything is complicated. But we are looking forward for good days. We we are we need good days. Can you hear that? It is the situation here. And now, if you can hear they are shooting guns. Net is most of the times cut, but I'm using VPN at the moment. Um, it will cut, I know, but at the moment I have the net. Can you hear people from their cars clapping, shouting? I guess you can hear them. This is the situation in my city. And from time to time, gunshots, shooting on people with paintball colored things to then find them, track them, and or even a straight shot to kill.
Aloha and good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending where you are. My name is Jürgen Steinmetz, joining you from the Breaking News Show in Honolulu, Hawaii. And we're back after going from Honolulu to Texas to Iran, and now we're not that far away from Iran. We're going to be in Delhi, India. And Delhi, of course, is known for one of the high-tech cities in the world. I've been to Delhi before. I attended a wedding many, many years ago, And I have to say, you guys must be the richest people in the world. I don't know how much you can afford to spend for weddings, but I had a great time. And I wanted to welcome Vivek. He's from Delhi, and he will tell us more about Delhi. And we're going to talk a little bit about what he's doing because we're actually one of his clients also. Vivek, welcome. How are you?
I'm good, Jürgen. Thank you so much for having me on the show. Yes.
So tell us, how's everything in Delhi? I know you have some problems sometimes with air quality, but it's a great city.
Yes.
But you can breathe, right? So everything is okay.
Yes, we can breathe. This, in fact, is the most pleasant time of the year, right? Just between monsoon and the winter starting. This is when temperatures go around 24, 26, 27. It's pleasant mostly throughout the day. Light breeze. It's the arrival of winters that we all wait for right now, and the air starts becoming chilly as we go into November, right? And again, winters in India are not as intense, as compared to what you would see in Europe or Canada or London, right? But it does get a bit chilly, and as you said rightly, there is pollution is a big concern here. But again, right, we do what we do, right? We all manage to get hold of air fresheners, air cleaners, air filters, and try to survive. Yeah.
No, and that's it's wonderful. So I'm seeing you breathing your own air. You don't have an oxygen tank behind us. No, I'm just kidding. It's really not that bad. It's a wonderful city, actually. I know. What's the difference? I was always wondering. I know when I attended the wedding, it was in New Delhi, but there's also Delhi. I was always wondering what the difference is. I know it's the capital city of India, obviously, so it's the most important town in India. But what's the difference between Delhi and New Delhi?
Okay. It's actually a great question. So Delhi is a state in India, right? Just like the way you have Hessen or Thüringen in Germany, right? Delhi is also a state, right? Just that it also happens to be a city-state, right? So it doesn't have a lot of cities in itself. It's just the capital city. So the capital city is called New Delhi, right? And the state is called Delhi.
Oh,
that's the only difference, right? Delhi itself now has sort of expanded over the years. It's now, I think, some 50, 60 kilometers in radius, right? Both sides. And then there is a national capital region, right? Called NCR, right? Where a lot of neighboring cities and towns have started merging into the capital city, right? It's a bit of a mess, but I guess that's what happens when you're a big city. People start coming to the city for more work, more employment. Right? It's just a natural part of development. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that makes a lot of sense. It's like in our capital here in the U.S., Washington, it's D.C. It's like a city state, or in Germany, Hamburg. There's a state of Hamburg and there's a city of Hamburg. It's really the same. I understand this now. Now, Vivek, the reason we're talking to you and what I know you about is about your company that is involved in a feature we've been using at eTurbo News for many years. And it's one of the most prominent features I have, and I don't want to go without it. So anyone who's reading us, you may have noticed sometimes when we publish a new article, something will pop up on your computer. And it will alert you there's a new article. So how does it work, and how are you involved in this?
Perfect. Thank you so much for asking that. The product is called Izujo, right? That's the product that currently publishers, entrepreneurs like you use right now on their website to broadcast important messages, important news, important stories to their audience using push notifications. Right? We've been running this company with this product for now over 6.5 years, and we now serve over 1,000 publisher brands across the globe, including eTurbo News. Right? And the way this works is very simple, very straightforward, right? Publishers want to directly reach their audience, right? Publishers don't like to depend on Google News or Facebook or Twitter to reach their audience, right? And we essentially help you build a direct channel of communication with your audience using web push notifications, using notifications from Messenger, email, and so on and so forth, right? The idea is very simple. How can we help you establish a direct channel of communication with your audience? Right? And when that happens, you get more repeat traffic, you get more page views on the website, and hopefully you get more revenue on the website as well. Yeah.
When you get these, like in our case, I know when we publish a new article, and we do it for one specific category, so not every article, but most articles. It
makes sense.
And you're subscribed to this pop-up, you will see it on your computer. So I understand in order to get it, you have to agree to get it. You have to subscribe. It's not something what automatically we force on people. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely correct. As a reader of the website of your brand, I would have to give explicit permission, right, and opt in for it. The good part is I don't have to give you my email ID or my name or my mobile number. It's just a very simple click of a button permission, which allows your website to send me notifications directly to my device. So I'm not really parting away with any personal information about myself or my or my work or my belongings, right? I'm just giving you permission to send me notifications. And as you rightly said, these notifications are delivered even when the user is not on the website, right? So the user could be, scrolling through Instagram, right? And they would get an alert article, an alert about article that you just published on the website.
And then, I mean, I'm wondering, I hope it will never, ever happen at eTurbo News. I'm kidding. But let's say you don't want these notifications anymore.
Sure.
Can you opt out of it?
Absolutely, yes. As a user, you have 100% control on what you want and what you don't want. You can simply go ahead and block them, right? You can simply go ahead and disable them, right? It just takes one click to get rid of them, right? Very straightforward, right? And again, unlike email IDs, so for example, let's say, hypothetically speaking, you have my email ID, and for some wacky reason, my email ID gets leaked out, right? So anybody who has access to my email ID can send me emails, right? That's not the case with web push notifications, right? Only the provider that you are working with can send those notifications on your behalf.
Right? So basically, it's triggered by your IP address, or how would the system know to inform you?
Well, when you publish a new story or a new
no, not publish. I mean, as a reader. So if you're a reader and you get this, and would the system, I mean, Isoto, would you guys know in the system, oh, this came from such an IP address? So if eTurbo News publishes something again, this IP address, we need to send a notification?
So again, great question. It's not an IP address, but when a user gives permission to receive notifications, right? What ends up happening is a browser token is generated and stored locally on the browser, right? And that's what gets stored on our server as well, right? So it's essentially a 64-character long alphanumeric browser token, right? That's really your identity, right? And that's what we use to send notifications to and from, right? So when the user blocks that notification, that token gets reset to, that token gets nullified, right? And whenever the user accepts notification, that token gets generated, right? And is sent to us. And that's what we use to communicate with a device and a browser, right? We would not know if it's Jürgen or if it's Vivek or if it's somebody else, right? All we would know is this token came from this device, which is a laptop or a mobile, and that's pretty much it. Yeah.
So is it now, if you access your computer and you have certain privacy settings, like you go to a private window, for example,
Yeah.
or would this still pop up, or the private window would not allow for this information to be stored, for example?
Great. So if you are browsing in a private mode or an incognito mode, right, you would not receive push notification pop-ups.
Okay.
Right? Would not be asked for permission because the browser understands that you want to be in a private mode. You do not want to be communicated with directly right now. Right?
Okay.
What's also important to understand is that notifications are sent directly to the device. So no matter what you are doing, if you have already opted in for notifications on your website, right, and you continue to browse some other website in a private mode, you will still receive the notifications. Right? What you will not see is the permission pop-ups on if you're browsing in a private mode.
Okay. So basically, it doesn't pop up on your website you're browsing. It pops up regardless.
Yeah.
And then you can opt out if you decide to opt out and you don't
Absolutely,
want to.
yes.
Now, when you look at the other side, a lot of our listeners are providers. There are tour companies, travel agencies, tourism boards, maybe even some other competitors of ours, publications. How can they benefit from your service? How would they know about it, and how can they sign up or find out more about it?
Perfect. So, well, the travel industry, continues to bounce back from the COVID impact, right? And we are seeing a lot of activity now in the travel industry. People are traveling. The so-called revenge travel is back. So we see a lot of activity happening across the industry, be it travel media, be it travel ticketing and sales and agencies and so on and so forth, right? And all these partners now want to communicate aggressively with their customers, with their audience, and that's where Izuto comes into picture. Izuto helps them solve this problem. So whenever a user is publishing, whenever a blogger, for example, is publishing a new blog post about a city they visited, or their review of a specific tourist site, right? Or whenever a tourism board has a new guideline coming up for their country or for travelers or tourists of that country, they can broadcast that using Izuto's push notification platform to their entire reader base, right? So communication becomes very, very important, right? And this is also very powerful when it's a time-sensitive communication, right? Let's say there's a COVID guideline coming up regarding travel, right? There's an update coming up regarding traveling. All of those can be communicated really, really quickly using push notifications, right? And that's what most of our travel-related businesses use Izuto for. Somebody in ticketing would often use it for, let's say, retargeting. Somebody, they would also use it to extend discounts and offers and deals to their customers, right? So the use, the way it's typically used in the travel industry sort of revolves around distributing content, distributing offers, right? Distributing time-sensitive important information, right? As far as signing up is concerned, right? We do have a special offer for the listeners and the readers of eTurbo News, right? We're extending a flat 20% discount to all readers and subscribers of eTurbo News. You could simply go to izuto.com. That is IZOOTO.com and sign up on the website. And once you sign up, just let the chat box on the right-hand side know that you came from eTurbo News, right? And we'll extend you a generous 20% discount on our subscription plans. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. So what we do, we're going to also, you will see Izuto on your screen. And if you watch us later, just feel free to drop us a note. Just click on contact on any of our pages and we'll be happy to send you the website in case you forget. But Vivek, this was an interesting first introduction. I know we love your service. We've been using it for a while and it has been very successful for us. And,
Thank you.
And even though we have so many readers now, we don't know who they are because we don't have their name, we don't have their email. But I guess that kind of maintains the privacy, and this is the nice thing about the system. It's instant, and you can still maintain your privacy. So if you're a competitor checking out what we're doing, we would never know. So it's an interesting concept. Well, thank you very much, Vivek, and we're coming to the end of our breaking news show today. And if you have been watching us and you didn't see the beginning of when we started with Dr. Peter Talo or any of the sections, you can just try us again. We're going to repeat this every 2 hours. Otherwise, just click on the breaking news link and you can watch this section and all our other section. Or, of course, you can go to YouTube and also find us there. But it's easy. So we have a lot of broadcasts to choose from and a lot of interesting discussions we had. Well, for everyone watching us here, we wish you a nice evening, morning, night, whatever time it is. And in Hawaii, we say aloha. What do you say in India, Vivek?
We say goodbye in English.
Goodbye.
And we
Okay, that's
Fir milenge. We say Fir milenge in Hindi. Yes.
Okay, and actually, if you wanted to read us in Hindi, you can do this. Just click on the language tab at eTurbo News, scroll down, and you find Hindi. And actually, Vivek, let me know how it sounds, because I don't speak Hindi. I speak German, and I tested it, and I was surprised it was pretty good. But let me know, Hindi is actually one of our most popular languages, so it would be great to get your feedback. All right.
For sure.
All right. Okay. You take care, and everyone else, thanks for listening, and we see you again
Thank you.
soon. Bye-bye.